Sometimes they're not even singing their songs. And in a way, we all have egos, and they start to pass you a little bit. They become popular.
Money in the show.
No, it's true. But it's not true for me. You know, conventional wisdom, right? What if everybody's wrong?
It's been decades since Kevin Costner has been making waves in Hollywood, and he has finally addressed a heated confrontation with a feminist critic that angrily challenged his portrayal of women in his films.
Am I pretty enough? Will they like me? Whitney, if you could hear me now, I would tell you, you weren't just good enough.
Fans and critics alike have long debated Costner's representation of women, particularly in his westerns. But now, for the first time, he is opening up about what he truly believes. What did Costner have to say? Join us as we dive into this powerful response and the wisdom behind his approach to the controversy.
My children, whether it's with the movie, whether it's just dealing, I want to live this moment right now. You know, I need to figure it out.
A savage encounter with Costner. Kevin Costner had always been admired for his grounded nature, a veteran of the film industry who navigated the pressures of Hollywood with a mix of grace and integrity. On one crisp afternoon in Montana, after completing interviews related to his hit series Yellowstone, his ability to manage difficult conversations would be put to the test. What began as a routine interaction with reporters quickly escalated into a tense exchange between Costner and a passionate feminist critic, resulting in a moment that would resonate far beyond the immediate crowd. As Costner stood outside a local restaurant, the atmosphere was light. Reporters gathered to hear him reflect on his decades-long career, which had earned him accolades for films like Dances with Wolves and Field of Dreams. His storytelling had always been intertwined with the American West, a theme that fascinated both fans and critics alike. While Costner chatted with the press, a group of onlookers had gathered, hoping to catch a glimpse of the actor whose name had become almost synonymous with modern westerns. Just as Costner paused to sign an autograph, the tone of the event shifted. A woman emerged from the crowd, microphone in hand, her posture signaling that this was no casual question. She represented a well-known feminist media outlet and seemed determined to confront the actor on an issue that had clearly been weighing on her mind. Her voice cut through the ambient noise as she asked him to address what she saw as problematic gender representation in his body of work, particularly in his westerns. She framed her question as a challenge, suggesting that the women in Costner's films often found themselves restricted to traditional roles. Costner paused, his brow furrowing slightly as he listened. The crowd fell silent, sensing that the conversation was about to take a different turn. While many of his supporters were aware that Dances with Wolves had received praise for its portrayal of Native American women, the critics' concern seemed broader, focusing on the larger issue of women's roles in westerns as a genre. The woman pressed her point further, citing Yellowstone as an example. While acknowledging that the show featured strong female characters, she expressed frustration that many of them, in her view, were still defined by their relationships with men. Her challenge was clear. As someone with significant influence in Hollywood, Costner should be doing more to challenge these entrenched narratives. For a moment, the atmosphere grew heavy. Costner's portrayal of John Dutton in Yellowstone had been widely acclaimed, and fans were quick to point out that characters like Beth Dutton had become iconic for their complexity. However, the critics seemed unmoved by these arguments. She was pressing for something deeper, a systemic change in how stories were told, particularly in male-dominated genres like the Western. Rather than responding defensively, Costner took a moment to reflect before he spoke. He had always believed in the power of authenticity in storytelling, and his response reflected that belief. He acknowledged the woman's concerns, but suggested that their perspectives might differ on what constituted strong character development. For him, the heart of any compelling character, whether male or female, lay in truth and depth, not in adhering to prescribed narratives or meeting external expectations. The conversation, however, was far from over. The critic, undeterred by Costner's measured response, pushed back, questioning whether his approach was simply a way to avoid addressing Hollywood's long history of marginalizing women's stories. She suggested that his work, particularly his westerns, could be seen as part of that problem, perpetuating traditional roles that no longer resonated with contemporary audiences. At this point, the crowd was fully engaged. Some shifted uncomfortably, perhaps out of loyalty to the actor, while others seemed genuinely curious to see how he would handle the increasingly charged conversation. As the tension built, Costner made a decision that surprised many. Rather than deflecting or disengaging, he leaned into the critique, stepping closer to the woman and speaking with the same calm authority that had defined much of his career. And what he said was nothing short of mind-blowing. Costner shared his perspective on Dances with Wolves, a film that had been revolutionary for its time, particularly in its portrayal of Native American women. He highlighted the character of Stands with a Fist, played by Mary McDonnell, as a testament to his commitment to portraying women with depth and dignity. This character had not been written to fulfill a romantic role alone. She was a survivor, a translator, a bridge between two cultures. The choices made in that film, Costner explained, were intentional, reflecting his desire to honor the stories of the marginalized without falling into stereotypes. As the conversation turned to Yellowstone, Costner emphasized that characters like Beth Dutton were not crafted to satisfy any external agenda. Beth's complexity, her flaws, and her strength came from an authentic place, and in his view, that was what true equality in storytelling looked like. It wasn't about fitting characters into neat categories, but about giving them the space to be fully realized human beings. The critic, however, was not easily swayed. She argued that Costner could do more, not just through his characters, but by using his platform to speak out against inequality in the industry. She called for more vocal advocacy from influential figures like him, suggesting that real change required more than just action behind the scenes. It required public statements and high-profile endorsements of the cause. Costner considered this carefully before responding. He had spent decades in an industry where public declarations often carried more weight than actions, but he had never been one to seek the spotlight for its own sake. His approach, he explained, had always been about creating meaningful change through the projects he worked on, rather than through grand gestures. For him, the loudest voices were not always the most effective ones. Real progress, in his experience, came from consistency and commitment, not from spectacle. He went on to explain that on the sets of his films and shows, he ensured that women were given opportunities not just in front of the camera, but behind it as well. Female directors and writers had played pivotal roles in his recent projects, including Yellowstone. And this wasn't because it was politically correct, but because it improved the work. Costner's focus had always been on making his stories better by including diverse perspectives, and that had always been his quiet form of advocacy. At this point, the critic appeared to be struggling with the unexpected depth of Costner's response. She had anticipated a defensive stance, but instead, she found herself facing a man who had thought deeply about the issues she raised, not just in terms of rhetoric, but in terms of actions that had tangible effects. Costner acknowledged the frustration that came from wanting faster, more visible change, but he remained steadfast in his belief that real change required patience and perseverance. He shared a personal insight, noting that as a father of daughters, he was acutely aware of the world they were inheriting. Every decision he made, every project he chose to work on, was influenced by his desire to leave behind a better industry for them. This, he suggested, was not a form of passive influence, but a deliberate choice to contribute to lasting change. The crowd, which had initially been tense, seemed to shift with this revelation. There was a palpable sense of respect for the way Costner had handled the conversation, not with dismissing the criticism, but by engaging with it in a way that invited reflection and deeper understanding. He had not offered easy answers or slogans. Instead, he had demonstrated that change in Hollywood, like in many industries, required more than just words. With Kevin seeming to be more of a champion than most, it begs the question, who is Kevin Costner?
Hey!
You out of your mind? Get back. Get back.
Setting the stage for Costner. The journey that led to this moment began in the 1980s, when Costner emerged during an era dominated by masculine narratives and traditional gender roles. His early appearances in films like The Untouchables and Field of Dreams operated within these established parameters. Yet even then, subtle hints of his future evolution as a filmmaker were apparent. These early works, while products of their time, contained moments that challenged the prevailing wisdom about character development and narrative depth. The true revelation of Costner's artistic vision came with Dances with Wolves, a project that transformed him from actor to an author with his own style. This sweeping epic did more than earn Academy Awards. It changed Hollywood's approach to cultural representation and character complexity. Mary McDonnell's portrayal of Stands with a Fist broke new ground in the depiction of female characters in Western films, combining strength with nuanced vulnerability in ways rarely seen before. The film showed that commercial success and artistic integrity could coexist with progressive storytelling. This commitment to evolution continued throughout his career, manifesting in diverse projects that consistently pushed boundaries. His collaboration with Whitney Houston in The Bodyguard challenged racial stereotypes in romantic films, while his work with Susan Sarandon in Bull Durham helped redefine female characters in sports movies. Each project built upon the last, creating a body of work that reflects continuous growth and adaptation to changing social awareness. In recent years, Yellowstone has become perhaps the most visible testament to Costner's dedication to industry progress. The series features complex female characters like Beth Dutton, whose fierce independence and psychological depth challenge traditional Western tropes. More importantly, the show's success has proven that audiences will embrace sophisticated character development regardless of gender, providing a powerful counter-argument to those who claim progressive casting and storytelling are commercially risky. Behind the scenes, Costner's influence extends far beyond his on-screen performances. His production companies have consistently created opportunities for female directors, writers, and producers, demonstrating a practical commitment to industry change. These efforts have focused on mentoring emerging talent and supporting structural changes in production practices, rather than merely making public statements about diversity and inclusion. Looking toward the future, Costner's approach provides a blueprint for sustainable industry progress. His career demonstrates that meaningful change requires more than dramatic gestures or temporary adjustments. Instead, it demands a consistent commitment to better storytelling, inclusive production practices, and the courage to challenge established norms when necessary. The entertainment industry's future requires this kind of sustained practical approach to progress. As audiences become increasingly sophisticated and demanding of authentic representation, leaders like Costner demonstrate how to adapt while maintaining artistic integrity. His career stands as testimony to the possibility of combining commercial success with progressive values, proving that the path forward lies not in dramatic gestures, but in consistent, thoughtful evolution. Through his work both in front of and behind the camera, Costner has shown that meaningful industry change comes from a combination of artistic vision and practical action. His legacy will likely be measured not just in box office success or critical acclaim, but in the doors he has helped open for future generations of filmmakers and storytellers. And yet, his impact doesn't stop there.
I feel so lucky. I feel so blessed. And there's 3 more.
A champion of authentic storytelling. The impact of Costner's methodical approach to industry transformation extends beyond his immediate projects, creating ripple effects throughout Hollywood's ecosystem. His influence on production methods and storytelling frameworks has helped to reshape how the industry approaches character development and narrative structure. Consider his groundbreaking work in Open Range, where Annette Bening's character, Sue Barlow, represented a departure from traditional Western archetypes. Rather than relegating her to a peripheral role, Costner ensured the character possessed agency and complexity that matched the film's rugged exterior. This approach showed how genre conventions could be honored while also being modernized, a balance that many filmmakers still struggle to achieve. The evolution of Costner's creative partnerships reveals a pattern of intentional collaboration with strong creative voices, regardless of gender or background. His work with director Taylor Sheridan on Yellowstone exemplifies this approach. The series has become a cultural phenomenon, partly because it combines traditional Western elements with contemporary sensibilities, particularly in its treatment of family dynamics and power structures. The character of Beth Dutton, portrayed by Kelly Riley, represents a new type of character in Western storytelling, one that owns her complexity without apology. But how exactly does Kevin Costner fit into this changing narrative? Behind the scenes, Costner's production companies have quietly revolutionized hiring practices in Hollywood. By prioritizing diverse creative teams without fanfare, he's demonstrated how industry leaders can effect change through action rather than proclamation. This approach has proved particularly effective in normalizing the presence of women in key creative roles, from cinematography to production design. The financial success of his projects has also challenged long-held industry assumptions about market preferences. Yellowstone's massive viewership, particularly strong across diverse demographic groups, contradicts the notion that traditional audiences will reject more nuanced character portrayals. This commercial validation has emboldened other producers and studios to take similar risks with character development and narrative complexity. In terms of mentorship and industry leadership, Costner's influence operates on multiple levels. Young actors who have worked with him frequently cite his emphasis on character authenticity over market considerations. This philosophy has helped nurture a new generation of performers who approach their craft with similar attention to depth and nuance. The technological evolution of filmmaking has also benefited from Costner's thoughtful approach to innovation. From the groundbreaking visual effects in Waterworld to the sophisticated production techniques employed in Yellowstone, his projects have consistently pushed technical boundaries while maintaining focus on story and character. This balance between technical innovation and narrative integrity provides a model for how the industry can embrace new technologies without losing sight of fundamental storytelling principles. Costner's influence on environmental consciousness in filmmaking deserves particular attention. Long before it became industry standard, his productions implemented sustainable practices and location shooting protocols that minimized environmental impact. This approach, particularly evident in projects like Dances with Wolves and Open Range, demonstrated how large-scale productions could maintain high production values while respecting natural locations. The intersection of commerce and artistry in Costner's career offers valuable lessons for industry evolution. His ability to balance commercial potential with artistic integrity has created a template for sustainable change in Hollywood. Rather than treating progressive elements as marketing points, his projects integrate them naturally into the fabric of storytelling, making them feel organic rather than forced. Looking ahead, the industry faces new challenges in representation and storytelling authenticity. Streaming platforms have changed how audiences consume content, while social media has transformed how they engage with it. In this evolving landscape, Costner's methodical approach to industry change becomes increasingly relevant. His emphasis on sustainable progress over quick fixes provides a roadmap for navigating these changes while maintaining artistic integrity.
My children, whether it's with the movie, whether it's just dealing, I want to live this moment right now. You know, I need to figure it out.
Supporting female talents in Hollywood. The enduring influence of Costner's approach becomes particularly evident when examining specific projects that marked turning points in both his career and Hollywood's broader evolution. The production of The Postman, despite its initial commercial challenges, exemplified his willingness to tackle complex themes and challenge audience expectations. The film's exploration of community rebuilding and female leadership roles, particularly through Olivia Williams' character Abby, was ahead of its time and has gained renewed appreciation in recent years. His dedication to authenticity extends beyond gender representation to include cultural sensitivity and historical accuracy. In films like Black or White, Costner tackled racial dynamics with nuance and complexity rarely seen in mainstream cinema. The project demonstrated his commitment to addressing challenging social issues through the lens of personal stories, avoiding both sensationalism and oversimplification. This approach has influenced how contemporary filmmakers approach sensitive cultural topics, emphasizing the importance of personal narrative in addressing broader social themes. The development of Costner's production company, TIG Productions, reflects his strategic approach to industry influence. Rather than simply focusing on commercial success, the company has consistently sought projects that push creative boundaries while maintaining high production values. This balance has created a model for independent production companies seeking to maintain artistic integrity while navigating market pressures. His influence on the technical aspects of filmmaking deserves deeper examination. The production of Waterworld, despite its notorious budget challenges, pioneered numerous innovations in marine filming techniques that are still utilized today. This willingness to invest in technical innovation, even at significant financial risk, demonstrates Costner's commitment to advancing the craft of filmmaking alongside its storytelling capabilities. The evolution of his directing style, from Dances with Wolves to Open Range, reveals a growing sophistication in visual storytelling that particularly benefits character development. His careful attention to landscape and environment as character-building elements has influenced how contemporary directors approach setting and atmosphere in their work. This technique is particularly evident in Yellowstone, where the Montana landscape becomes an integral part of character development and narrative progression. Costner's impact on television production methodologies, particularly through Yellowstone, has helped bridge the perceived quality gap between film and television content. The series' production values and character development approaches have set new standards for television drama, influencing how networks and streaming services approach long-form storytelling. His insistence on maintaining cinematic quality in television production has helped elevate the medium's perceived artistic value. The role of mentorship in Costner's career strategy reveals a long-term vision for industry development. By actively supporting emerging talent, particularly from underrepresented groups, he has helped create a pipeline for diverse voices in Hollywood. This approach extends beyond simple hiring practices to include active guidance and support for developing filmmakers and actors. His influence on screenwriting practices and character development has been particularly significant. The success of projects like Draft Day demonstrated how complex character dynamics could be maintained even within traditionally male-dominated narratives. The film's treatment of Jennifer Garner's character as an equal strategic player, rather than a subordinate role model, influenced how sports films approach female characters. The international impact of Costner's work provides another dimension to his industry influence. His films have consistently found global audiences, demonstrating how authentic storytelling can transcend cultural boundaries. This success has helped challenge industry assumptions about the commercial viability of nuanced character development in international markets. Looking toward the future of Hollywood, Costner's legacy offers valuable insights into sustainable industry evolution. His career shows how consistent commitment to quality and authenticity can create lasting change without sacrificing commercial viability. But evolution of his approach to historical narratives deserves particular attention. The cultural impact of great storytelling. The cultural resonance of Costner's work extends beyond individual projects to influence broader societal narratives about leadership, integrity, and social progress. His portrayal of Jim Garrison in JFK, for instance, helped reshape public discourse around historical investigation and institutional accountability. The film's impact shows how thoughtful artistic choices can contribute to broader social conversations while maintaining entertainment value. From The Untouchables to Hidden Figures, where he served as executive producer, Costner has consistently sought to shed light on overlooked perspectives within historical contexts. This commitment to historical complexity has influenced how contemporary filmmakers approach period pieces, encouraging deeper exploration of diverse viewpoints rather than simplified narratives. His work in 13 Days provided another proof to his ability to handle complex historical material while maintaining dramatic tension and character depth. The film's treatment of political advisors and support staff, particularly female staff members, offered a more complete picture of historical events than traditionally presented. This approach to historical storytelling has influenced contemporary production's treatment of historical accuracy and representation. The technical innovations pioneered in his productions continue to influence industry practices. The underwater filming techniques developed for Waterworld, initially considered excessive, have become standard practice in marine cinematography. Similarly, the practical effects and location shooting methods developed during the production of Dances with Wolves set new standards for authenticity in period filmmaking. Costner's influence on the business side of Hollywood reveals a sophisticated understanding of industry economics without compromising what it means to be an artist. His production company's approach to project development, emphasizing long-term value over immediate market response, has provided a model for sustainable independent production. This business model has proven particularly relevant in the current streaming era, where content value is measured across extended time frames. The impact on acting and performance approaches cannot be overlooked. His consistent emphasis on character authenticity has influenced how actors approach complex roles, particularly in genre productions. The success of characters like John Dutton in Yellowstone demonstrates how traditional roles can be enriched through careful attention to psychological depth and emotional complexity. In terms of industry leadership, Costner's approach to project development has emphasized the importance of creative team cohesion. His productions are known for maintaining consistent creative teams across projects, fostering an environment where innovative ideas can develop over time. This long-term approach to creative collaboration has influenced how other production companies structure their project development processes. The environmental consciousness evident in his work extends beyond mere location respect to encompass broader themes of conservation and sustainability. His upcoming project Horizon, announced as an epic Western told in multiple parts, continues this tradition by incorporating environmental themes while maintaining genre conventions. This balance between entertainment and environmental awareness has influenced how contemporary productions approach similar themes. His influence on casting practices has contributed to industry-wide changes in how roles are conceived and filled. Rather than adhering to traditional typecasting, his productions have consistently sought actors who could bring unexpected dimensions to their roles. This approach has helped expand opportunities for actors who might otherwise have been overlooked for certain character types. What do you think of the way Kevin Costner handled that woman? Do you think she has valid concerns? We would love to know in the comments. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the following video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.